What is going on, guys? Jeff here, Mad Hatter's Reef, and today we're going to be taking a look at the top 7 saltwater fish for a Pico Reef tank. Before we jump into that, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because I make videos all the time. I'm just kidding. Seldomly do I make videos, but I'm trying to do a better job. Come on, man. Help me out. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. So what makes a Pico Reef tank P or Co? Well, it has a lot to do with the size of the tank. Typically, your Pico Reef tank is 5 gallons or less. Now, this isn't something that is like, if you look it up in the Webster's dictionary, that you're going to be able to find it. It's a hobby-generated term to define a very small tank. Quite often, your Pico Reef tanks are a desk tank that is keeping saltwater aquarium. So today, what we're going to be doing is taking a look at some of the saltwater fish that you can put into these very, very small reef aquariums. So let's take a look at the top 7 saltwater fish for a Pico Reef tank. And kicking things off with number 7, we have the Clown Goby. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be the green or the yellow. Just the species in general is a pretty good candidate for a Pico style reef tank, mostly due to the fact that it is a very interesting fish. It is definitely small. They usually only grow upwards of like 1.5 inches. And more specifically, this fish doesn't do very well in a reef tank. And it's been my experience with this fish, with a yellow Clown Goby, that they have a little bit of a history with Acropora. And in my 220 gallon, if you guys go back far enough into the vault of Mad Hatter Reef videos, you will find one where I'm talking about rapid tissue necrosis. Now, I don't believe that the fish was the cause of the rapid tissue necrosis, but it definitely didn't help the matter. It seemed like every single acro that this Clown Goby posted up on died, and then he'd move on to the next one. The next one would die, and I couldn't catch him, and it was absolutely heartbreaking to see this little bugger tear up my reef tank. They are easy to care for, peaceful in their temperament, carnivore in their diet. They are considered reef safe. I'm going to say nay, they are not reef safe, even though that some of the information on the interwebs says otherwise. They go upwards of 1 3/4 inches. They're going to do great in your Pico Reef tank as long as you don't have any acros or other SPS corals in there. And coming in at the number 6 spot on our top 7 saltwater fish that are great candidates for a Pico Reef tank is the Neon Blue Goby. Now, this fish is known to breed in captivity, and it doesn't get very big either, so that makes it a great candidate for those smaller reef tanks. And I feel like in a larger aquarium, anything north of like 40 gallons, this fish really can get lost in there. I think it would be interesting to have a large school of them in a larger tank, so you can actually see some of them, but they are definitely a fish that is super small and will get lost in those larger tanks. Another great thing about this fish is they are a parasite eater, so they do have cleaning properties and can help out in the event of something drastically going horrible in your reef tank. You got the icks. Check this fish out. He might be able to do some stuff for you. They are considered easy to care for, peaceful in their temperament, carnivore in their diets, are considered reef safe, grow upwards of 2 inches, and do great in those smaller Pico style tanks. Coming in at number 5 on our top 7 fish for a Pico Reef tank is the Hyphen red-banded goby. Now, I have kept this fish in the past, and unfortunately, he was a little bit of a jumper. I ended up losing him. I did, however, enjoyed him for quite a while, and he had one of those relationship type things with a pistol shrimp. It was just a really cool interaction to watch them two work together. Pistol shrimps are notorious with horrible eyesight, and they use the goby with good eyesight to kind of work together. They'll kind of dig out the hole, the pistol shrimp, and the goby will stand guard and watch out. And if the goby kind of backs into his hole because something's going on, the pistol shrimp will know to kind of shut down the operation and just hang tight until the goby kind of moves out of the hole. Then he knows it's okay to resume operation. These guys are moderate care level, peaceful in their temperament, carnivores like most gobies are, reef safe, grow upwards of 2 inches, and are a excellent candidate for those smaller tanks because they like their little caves. You team them up with a pistol shrimp. It's a great addition. It's very fun to watch. just make sure you have a lid on your tank. And coming in at number 4, no stranger to needing a lid on his tank as well, we have the Yasha Goby. Now, this fish is incredible in its markings and its behavior. It's very similar to how a jawfish acts. Like when the fish looks at you, or like it's like looking into your soul. Again, another goby that can be teamed up with a pistol shrimp, and yes, they're jumpers, so you definitely want to take caution with that and make sure you have some type of securement on top of the tank to keep them inside. Now, there are a lot of folks that use those nets. You want to make sure that you're using a small enough net that this guy can't get stuck, because a lot of times when they jump, they're flaring their gills, and I have seen them get hung by their gills in a mesh net. So it's something that you definitely want to make sure you have a very small mesh net when you are putting a lid on your tank. This guy is easy to care for, peaceful in his temperament, carnivore in his diet like most gobies are, is considered reef safe, grows upwards of 2.5 inches, and is going to be an amazing addition to your Pico Reef tank. And coming in at the number 3 spot on our top 7 Pico Reef tank fish is the Osolaris Clownfish, specifically captive bred. Because most often when you are dealing with captive bred fish, which we've already touched on a few of them that are in this list, they typically are a little bit smaller when they come to market. And this fish is a very sight-orientated fish. It can get a little bit larger, so in my own personal opinion, I would be okay with putting a Osolaris Clownfish in a Pico Reef tank for a period of time, but understand that I would eventually need to upgrade my tank for that fish. And even still, at full grown, I think that a Osolaris Clownfish is going to do just fine in a nano-sized tank, which your Pico tanks typically fall 5 gallons or less, and your nanos are like 5 gallons up to about 30 gallons. And that definitely is enough tank for this fish for its entire life. You can put it in a larger tank, but it definitely will do fine in a nano, and you can keep it in a Pico for a period of time. This guy is easy to care for, peaceful in his temperament, omnivore in his diet. That means he eats a little bit of the plant and a little bit of the meat. Is considered reef safe, grows upwards of 3 inches, and requires a minimum tank size of 20 gallons. Check him out, the Osolaris Clownfish. And coming in at the number 2 spot on our top 7 Pico Reef tank fish, again, another fish that is a great candidate for an upgrade down the road. That would be the Biota captive bred blue Mandarin. Now, again, we're dealing with a captive bred fish, so generally you're going to get this fish when it is much smaller, and eventually it's going to be a decent size, so you might have to consider a nano tank or larger for this fish. This guy is considered difficult care level, and that has everything to do with its feeding habits. And I have recently been keeping one in the Pico tank, which we showed you at the beginning of this video. And what I have found has been a really good regimen for feeding this fish is live copepods one day and then brine shrimp the next. Copepods one day, brine shrimp the next. And that has seemed to give this guy the nutrition that he needs. He's a really good hunter, even though that he came in incredibly small. He was probably less than an inch when I got him. Now he's probably like 1.25 inches already. But even though that they are difficult, they are definitely doable. You just got to stay on top of your live foods. This guy is peaceful in his temperament, carnivore in his diet. He wants pods and brine shrimp, baby brine shrimp specifically, is considered reef safe, grows upwards of 3 inches. Check him out, the captive bred blue Mandarin. And coming in at the number 1 spot on our top 7 Pico Reef tank saltwater fish is the barnacle blenny.